Welcome to the Tough Decisions Network for Entrepreneurs. I'm Dan Hanford, and my wife, Danae, and I interview successful people sharing stories behind tough decisions that they've had to make along their journey as an entrepreneur.
On the podcast with us today is Amanda Watson. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us. We're looking forward to chatting with you today.
Thank you for having me.
We want you to get us started, Amanda, by talking to us a little bit about your background as an entrepreneur and where your current focus is right now.
From an entrepreneur standpoint, started about 15 years ago. I decided to leave corporate fashion to work in wholesale sales. So had my own showroom here in San Francisco, represented about 8 to 10 lines. Started off with one or two lines of swimwear and then branched out into action sports. And from there, did a few different things, doing visual work for different brands. And so that sort of expanded itself when the economy took a downturn. That was quite useful. And then now I'm working on the past 3 years, working on this website for plus size fashion resale. So now this year, it's my actual focus.
Well, I want you to talk to us about first a tough decision that you've had to make that didn't have that good of an outcome and some of the lessons that you learned through it.
When I started this website 3 years ago, I still worked for other brands and did other sales things in order to keep income going. And that was a poor decision to make because what happened was my brand and my website, fell by the wayside, and it really didn't go anywhere apart from being built. So I decided the first part of this year in February to quit everything else and focus on this.
Well, I think that's very hard a lot of times for people because, we have, a lot of entrepreneurs that we've interviewed and, one of the decisions that has to be made is when to burn the bridges, right? And You don't want to burn them too early, but you also need to learn when is the right time to cut ties with your prior things that you used to do to be able to focus solely on that main thing and that new business that you're working on.
Yes, it does. In order to do something right, it needs full attention.
Well, can you talk to us, not necessarily, us, but maybe some listeners that might be listening that are kind of teetering like you were, and then, what are some of the thoughts that you had or some of the things that you had to change, mindset-wise to really make that shift and make that change to be able to really burn the bridge and go full force with what you're working on now?
I had to think about finances and what do I really need to live and live without? And, all of the, nice dinners out and all of this stuff, quote unquote, that you could buy, is not going to get you anywhere in life. So when I really pared my lifestyle back and said, we don't need all of these things. We don't need to do these, certain events. I need to do this. And let me give myself a year. And if this is successful, then I've made the right decision. And I think it will be successful. And it's starting to be. I think that you really need to take a hard look at, your finances and say what's necessary and what's not necessary. And if you have enough savings, or if you have, like in my case, a partner that will help you and, take things over, then I think you should go for it because, you can't, you have to try. You really do. And give a leap and put a timestamp on it and say, when are you going to say, maybe now I need to do something else?
Well, and that's right. Because, even as entrepreneurs, we think sometimes that if we start a venture and it doesn't work out that, we've failed or we've given up on that thing. And what we have to realize as entrepreneurs is that, when we give up is when we stop doing entrepreneurship and we go back to working for somebody else. That's really when an entrepreneur truly gives up. And so a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we might start 2, 3, 4, 5 different businesses before we find that one that really hits really well. But it's that taking risk and moving on to the next thing that might work. And so it's really what makes us true entrepreneurs.
Agreed.
So the next tough decision that I wanted us to talk about is a tough decision that you've made that had a really good and positive outcome and some of the lessons you learned through that one.
I've learned over this year while I focus, and it's funny because I was thinking about this morning really hard because I'm hiring another person. It's really smart if you can afford it to hire other people. I hired a brand ambassador and she has really changed everything for me. If you find the right people connected to the business that you're working on, that's everything. It's worth every penny you'll spend. And you can't do everything. You just can't. I mean, I'm actually hiring people out to write articles for me, and then people are asking for articles to be written. I can write, but I'm not focused on writing right now. So I'm hiring other people to do that for me. I'm hiring someone to review my pitch deck for financing. I think if you start looking at, and start talking to the right people, you can hire out if you can afford the extra cash out of pocket, get the right people to do what they're good at, and then you can focus on managing all of it. And I think you'd find yourself to be far more successful.
Well, there's the other thing to consider too, is that, there might be a point where you don't think you can quite afford it, but if you can scratch out enough to outsource some of that, then you can pour more of your attention into sales or marketing or whatever it is that you are, and then you can afford it.
Yeah, with the sharing economy, as far as the gig economy online, that's been a godsend, I think. I mean, because I can get an article written for $30 to $40, and it's just a brief article, but that $30 to $40 is worth more because one, it's being done correctly, and two, that's time that you don't have to spend. So right. Yeah, I think that the gig economy has been a real help, to be more entrepreneurial these days on a budget.
So talk a little bit about some of the strategies that you like to use when you are facing a tough decision.
I like to take my time. I used to be very reactive to a lot of things. And I've given myself that space of I coming from a corporate world, you have to think. And, it was really fast paced back when I was, doing those sorts of positions in buying and planning and fashion direction. But now I give myself 24 hours unless someone needs an answer right away to really stop and think about my answer and be really thoughtful about it, because I think that's more important than anything, because how I feel about it right now may change tomorrow morning. And I think that the response tomorrow morning or even this evening would be a softer, easier, more well thought out response than it would be in that immediate moment, especially with the way things can read via text and email.
Yes, text and email, I think, is some of the worst ways to communicate. If it's all possible, you want to pick up the phone and yes. Call, or like you said, take your time and really consider what you're going to say over that email or that text.
Right, because you may be misinterpreting everything this person's trying to say.
Right, and there's really no substitute for that actual conversation.
Right, because what could sound rude is actually probably very kind sometimes.
Right. All right, we're going to take a quick break and hear from one of our show sponsors. When we come back, we'll talk to Amanda about some of her favorites as it relates to her life as an entrepreneur.
Have you ever thought about investing in real estate, but find yourself so busy that you don't have time for it? Do you have FOMO, which is the fear of missing out? At HanfordCapital.com, we help investors with passive real estate investments that project better returns than traditional investment vehicles such as the stock market. If you'd like to find out more about our passive real estate investments, visit HanfordCapital.com. That's HANDFORD Capital.com. We will jump on a call with you to discuss your investment goals and to see if our investments are a good fit for you. This advertisement is not to be construed as an offer or recommendation to buy or sell a security. Visit HanfordCapital.com.
And we are back with Amanda Watson with a series of quick questions and answers that we call the trifecta. And Amanda, I want you to get us started by talking to us about your favorite technology that you use in business that makes your life easier every day.
My phone. I don't have to be strapped to my desk. I like that, again, one of the nice things about being an entrepreneur is that, your lifestyle can be a little bit easier in some cases to take care of things. And when I'm out running around during business hours, I do like to make sure I'm very available to everybody during business hours. My brand ambassador's in New York. I'm in California. I like to be up early. So if I can run out and still, have my phone, I can still talk to her and answer emails and if things need to be addressed right away, I can look at my back end. I can help customers. My phone is, a godsend.
What's a favorite quote that you've heard that has helped you as an entrepreneur?
Oh, I don't have an answer for that. I'm sorry.
That's all right. What about a favorite book that has helped you make better decisions as an entrepreneur?
I don't have time to read. Isn't that terrible? And actually, my brand ambassador has recommended a book called The Happiness Animal, and it's still in my browser to read from Amazon.
No, that's all right. We are really, really busy, and I used to be a very avid reader, but then I found myself where I wasn't reading through a whole lot of anything. I'd pick up things here and there that looked interesting, but I don't know why it took me so long. But within the last year, I've gotten an Audible membership, and now I just listen to a lot of books. So
that's exactly what I did. That's why that tab's up still on my screen.
Yeah, That's awesome. And honestly, I didn't think I would like it because I'm like listening to a book. It's not the same as actually, picking up the book and holding on to it. Right. But I really like it because I can digest a lot more. And, being busy, you don't want to give up that part of your, improvement and personal development. So that's going to help. What's the next thing for you right now on your vision or dream board?
Well, I'm looking to hire an assistant, and that's twofold for me. One, she would, because my candidates are girls, she would help me with adding more products to my website and doing the day-to-day tasks that, again, I should be focused on other things. And I'm also hiring someone that's actually a fashion major in college, and she'll get it. And number two, they're of an age group and I'm not, that will teach me about social media. I think that what's going on now is you can hire people part-time that can help teach you and do some of the work at the same time. So I'm really excited to get going with that because I think that I can really focus on marketing because everything's done, quote unquote, but now I need to market it. So it's all about, hitting the ground running, making sure we have as much product on it as possible and that we feel like we're really, prepared to get the traffic and, inundated, hopefully, with new customers and new visitors.
Well, how can the listeners reach out to you if they're interested in following you or finding more about your business?
So our website is styleforit.com, styleforit.com. We are on Instagram at styleforitnsf, and we're also on Facebook. Our email is info@styleforit.com.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for taking some time to share some of your experiences and your insights. We really appreciate you coming on with us today, and we look forward to watching you continue to grow as an entrepreneur.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Tough Decisions Network. Be sure to visit toughdecisions.net to gain access to show notes for this episode and to join our free weekly entrepreneur email where we will send you news about the latest technology for your business, inspiring quotes, and the latest books for entrepreneurs. That's toughdecisions.net.